Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a mini easy tutorial on how to apply bronzers, blushes and highlighters. So we're going to start off with cream products. Now, you can definitely get away with just bronzer or just blush, but if you combine them together with a little bit of highlighter to add a bit of radiance to the skin and luminosity, they work beautifully together. So I'm going to start with bronzer first because I find that works really well. I find blush is the #1 makeup product that fades away the quickest, right? It doesn't have the tendency to last as long as anything else on the face. So I always leave the blush to last. So for contour or bronzer, I'm going to use the Fenty Beauty Matte Stix. It's the matte skin stick in Truffle. I sometimes use this as a subtle contour and as a cream bronzer. Really easy to apply. There's a few ways that you can apply your cream contours or the stick ones like these. You can use your fingers to blend it in. You could use a damp beauty blender. You can even use a brush. Now today I'm going to show you how to use it with a brush because I find that it works best for me. I don't really like using fingers as much, but again, that's just me. So first rule or tip is to never twist it up this like too high, because 1, you'll snap it off, or 2, I don't know, something bad's gonna happen. So just twist it up slightly. The first thing you want to do is find the right shade for you. If you have no idea where to start, your beauty advisors in the stores are there to help you, or the makeup counters, wherever you are. But I matched it to Truffle for my skin. Now, it's gonna look a little bit scary at first because it's super dark, but it's super blendable. So the key is to blend it and it'll look really natural. So with contour and bronzers, I always like to tell people to sort of look at where the tops of your ears are. That's like a rough guideline of where your bronzers and like contours should roughly be in terms of where it starts. Your cheekbones don't sort of go straight like this. They're sort of on an angle like this that sort of heads towards the corner of your mouth, right? So rough guideline, tops of the ears at the point here to about here. Okay, rough guideline. Now when I say the cheekbone sort of goes down into this sort of angle to the corner of your mouth, I don't mean apply the actual contour or bronzer product all the way down to the corner of your mouth, because of course that's a little bit strange and it looks weird. So I normally stop the contour product or bronzer product at about where the apple of the cheeks is. So if you don't know where the apple of the cheek is, if you smile to yourself in the mirror like this, right now, the apple of the cheek, I stop it about there because that's where I'll apply my blush. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So I start at the back, the outer third of my cheekbone. See how it looks crazy dark? And I know a lot of you are like, that's really dark, Sarah. Don't worry, it's gonna blend out. So about there. Now less is more, definitely with that approach. Don't go too hammer on it and then you're there forever blending heaps of product out. So the tool is key. If you're gonna use a brush like me, make sure that you choose a brush that is quite dense. There's not a lot of movement. Something that has a lot of movement would be this in comparison, right? See that? Not much movement. So this is gonna blend your product really, really well and push it and melt it in the skin. I'm basically pushing and dabbing the product into my skin. See that? Just pushing and dabbing. Because if I sort of like brush too harshly, I find that I'm almost erasing the product away from my skin. So just pushing and dabbing is what you wanna aim for. And I always blend backwards into the hairline. You don't want to see any disconnect. Blend, blend, blend. You keep blending until you're happy with how the bronzer or the contour product blends into the skin. So long as the key point here is to make sure there's no harsh lines and it's beautifully blended. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So can you see the difference already? Obviously there's nothing on this side yet. So bronzer and contour products sculpt the face really nicely. So it adds dimension, it casts a little bit of shadow so that it brings your cheekbones to life, but it also, you know, it gives you a slight cheek lift. Depends how you apply it. Now, I don't actually just stop there. I actually apply a little bit more around my forehead and a little bit where my temples are, and going back in with that brush, pushing and dabbing. So by adding your bronzer around your forehead, so I'm basically following the natural hairline, right? And slightly across the temples. We're giving that skin that really sun-kissed warmth, and it also blends everything seamlessly. So there's no disconnect. So what I mean by disconnect is like, say for example, if I was to only apply bronzer on the cheeks, but nothing around the rest of the face, it kind of almost looks very, I guess, artificial or very obvious that you have bronzer there. So I always like to sort of blend it everywhere else, just so it looks really nice. Really natural and radiant, right? And then whatever's left on my brush, I just kind of take it down the neck and right underneath the jawline. That's it. You need to be careful of going back into the product and then applying it underneath the jawline, because if you go too dark or you apply too much product, it's really visible there, and it's not very flattering in the natural light, because people just kind of look at you and be like, girl, you didn't blend today, did you? So yeah, less is more. I might add a little bit more bronzer just to make sure that it shows up on camera, but I'd normally just like leave it as is, how it was before, but just a little bit more wouldn't hurt. This is a really good brush to blend out your cream or liquid products. It's on an angle as well, I'll show you, which is really nice. Alright, I'll stop there before I go overboard. So that is your cream bronzer or contour stick. And I have to say, I recently bought the Fenty Beauty Stix and I'm very impressed. One, the price is definitely affordable. It's not anything too crazy. Price-wise, I've forgotten, but I will pop a link down below as always so you can check it out for yourself. But the formula, it's really beautiful. It's really light. It's super blendable. And for me, I personally see it as a foolproof product. Very easy to use. Now, I'm happy with that bronzer and the way it contoured my skin. I'm now moving on to cream blush in a stick form still. And it's the Nars Multiple Stick in G-Spot. I really do love this shade. It just really suits my complexion well. I'm still using the same brush, which is the Real Techniques Sculpt brush. And I've just basically grabbed a clean tissue and I've just removed some of that bronzer, just so I don't mix too many colors. And now I'm going to swipe. Now again, there's different ways of applying cream products. It's entirely up to you what you're most comfortable with. Some people will just kind of do this, like they'll pop a little bit onto their cheeks and then they blend it away with their finger. The other way you can do it, how I like to do it, is swipe a little bit of the product onto the brush and then apply it that way. Again, it's entirely up to you. Some people even use damp beauty blenders as well. They'll just kind of pop it on like this and blend away. Again, completely up to you. So, just a little bit on my brush. This is the other thing that I find people struggle most with, is they ask me, where exactly does my blush go? So I always say, smile to yourself in the mirror. That will reveal the apple of the cheek. Majority of the product will be on the apple of the cheek, and then you just slightly blend backwards onto that cheekbone of yours to give it a natural look. Like that. And I'm just doing dabbing motions, so don't brush too much of that product away. The other question I get from people is, what's the difference between blush and bronzer? Like, they both give color to your cheeks. Correct, they both give color, but they do different things. So, you know, your bronzers are more in that earthy brown. Sometimes you can find like cool tones as well, where it's not too warm and it's better for contouring. But bronzers that have that warmth to them, like that other Fenty Beauty one, it has that bit of that warmth through it. It adds that really sun-kissed glow and warmth to your skin. So you don't look so pale or feel too pale. Because if you can imagine just applying tinted moisturizer like I have today, or just foundation, it's very one tone and we almost look 2D, right? But by adding a little bit of bronzer here and there, like on your cheekbones, around the forehead, you look more 3D. There's a bit more life there, there's a bit of structure, a bit more dimension, right? Your blushes add that youthful flush back into the skin. So it gives you that beautiful radiance, that beautiful flush back into the skin, and you look more fresh. So that's the difference. I hope that makes sense. So like I said before, earlier in the video, that you can definitely get away with just a blush if you wanted to, or just a bronzer, but if you combine them together, you can see the difference, that the two really work well together. Just make sure that you blend. And I always have this, I guess, rule of thumb with blushes or bronzers is for me, there's like a 2-finger sort of rule. So don't go too close to the nose, because then you almost look too flushed, like you've just gone for like a 10K run. Kind of thing. Unless you want that look, then go for it, but I just prefer it like this. So I'm pretty happy with that blush, how it's on, and the intensity of the color. If you want to go like a little bit more in terms of depth and color, keep adding and the color will build. So the last product to finish off this look is a liquid highlighter. This one is from the brand Mecca Max, and it's their Liquid Lights product, and mine is in the shade Gold. There's a few other shades as well, so do make sure that you match up well to your complexion if you are interested in this product. It's found at Mecca Maxima, of course. Now, this one, a little goes a long way. I find anything that's liquid or even cream sometimes, the pigment is quite strong compared to, say, a powder. Again, depends on the formula, but most cases the pigment is quite strong. So a little goes a long way for sure with this product, and I only applied the smallest, tiniest drop. It was probably like, you're probably best just to like open it up like this and then just like dot it on your skin, and that's like enough for one side of the face, in my opinion. So I'm going to apply this with my finger, my ring finger, and then I'm just going to pat this gently on the top, very top points of my cheekbone right here, and it's just going to really enhance the radiance of my skin. You look really fresh, you look really hydrated, you look dewy and luminous. Who doesn't want to look luminous? So usually with highlighter, it's at the highest points of your face where the light naturally hits your skin. So that's usually the bridge of the nose, it's the brow bone, it's the cupid's bow, it's above your brows here, usually where I would apply highlighter. Now, if you have a lot of texture around the areas where highlighter is usually applied, I would be very careful. Now, what I mean by texture is like things like pimples, acne, it could be deep set wrinkles, for example. If you don't want to bring forward those features, because that's what highlighter does, it brings forward, it highlights those areas, just be very careful. That's all I'm saying. Because if you, let's say for example, I've got deep set wrinkles around here, which I'll eventually get, but I don't have any yet. But if I go too close, right, to the wrinkles, with the highlighter, it really brings those wrinkles forward and it enhances them. So don't go too close to texture. And then, so I've just applied it on the top part of my cheekbone here. I'm going to apply a little bit around here. So above the tail of my brow, like here, and then connecting it down here. So that kind of gives us that like C-shape application, which gives us the most natural look, rather than just a streak of light here, if that makes sense. Because that's how our skin naturally glows, like just like there. We're just mimicking it and enhancing it. Beautiful. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. A little bit on the brow bone, just on the very top part of the brow bone, like there. Just for a nice little eye lift, because why not? But yeah, that's pretty much it for cream and liquid products. One thing you must remember is if you're working with cream or liquid color products like your blushes and your bronzers, make sure that you leave the setting powder to the very last, as the very last step. So your setting powders to set your face or your foundation, right? Because if I was to, you know, apply my foundation and then I set it with a powder and then I try and go in with those cream and liquid products, what can happen, guys, is that it lifts that, the powder and the foundation. It becomes very patchy, uneven. You can see brush strokes, finger, you know, where you've applied pressure on the skin. Just leave powder to last, okay? Before we move on to the powder products, like your powder bronzers and blushes, I'm just going to lightly set this side, mainly just in the T-zone because that's where I get a little bit shiny and oily. When it comes to setting your face, you don't need to set the whole entire face. Just set the areas where you find you get most oily or shiny, or you just want to mattify it lightly. So the powder of choice today is going to be the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powders. Sorry, I'll just move it around there. It's a bit reflective, this packaging. And this is the shade Dim Light, so it just adds a beautiful soft veil finish. And I'm using the Real Techniques blush brush. Done. Bronzer time. The bronzer of choice is going to be from Dior. This is very reflective, sorry. And I'll open it up so you can see. It's got a little bit of like a subtle, very subtle blush infused into this product. And you've got like, I think there's like 1, 2, 3 shades. So it's like a warm bronzer, really, is what it is. By the time you swirl your brush in there, you've got all these colors infused together. Really beautiful. So this is the, what is it? It's the Dior Skin Nude Tan in shade 002. And I'm going to apply it with a brush, of course, because it's powder. You can't really apply it properly with your fingers with this one. So I'm going to use the Smashbox, angled brush. You can use any bronzer brush that you're comfortable with, provided that it's not too big. Okay, so big as in like your traditional like powder brushes to apply powder foundation. That is too big. And by the time you apply your bronzer, it's like this huge muddy like area. You don't want that. You just want something small enough to fit the cheekbone, okay? So I'm going in with a little bit of that product. Very similar application to the cream bronzer. You start at the back here, where the top part of the ear is, rough guideline, remember, to the corner of the mouth. And light pressure. You don't want to be too aggressive with your skin because one, you don't want to encourage any more wrinkles or fine lines, but also it's just to avoid disturbing the foundation or the complexion product underneath. You don't want to cause any unevenness or patchiness. Going back in with that bronzer to build on color. The good thing about this particular bronzer is that it is infused with a very subtle blush. So you can probably get away with blush, but knowing me, I'm still gonna go in with blush. And I find some people apply bronzer like everywhere. There's no need to do that because one, you'll become very dark, very orange very quickly, and it's not as flattering. So there's a huge disconnect from like your neck and décolletage where your face is fully bronzed and it can almost look very orange at times, depending on the shade. So I find it's more flattering if you just apply it in certain parts of the face. And again, follow your hairline. I'm gonna do my best to like blend into this side of the face. So remember, following your hairline across the temples. Make sure you blend back into the hairline because you don't want to see any disconnect. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And then whatever's left on that brush, I'm just going to bring it down here and underneath my jaw onto the neck because your neck has to be slightly bronzed as well. Done and done. So yeah, if you're not happy with the intensity of the bronzer, of course you can go back into that bronzer and apply a little bit more because you can definitely build color. All right, I'm gonna switch brushes and product now. So the powder blush choice today is gonna be from Nars, and it is the shade Dolce Vita. Just gonna open that up so you can see the color there. And I'm gonna switch brushes like I said, and this is the Napoleon contour brush. But to me, I just use it as a blush brush because it's just a round head there, and it really diffuses and blends out blushes really nicely. So if you've got a similar brush at home, definitely use that. All right, so again, apple of the cheek is where majority of the blush should be, and then you gradually blend backwards onto the cheekbone. So the reason why you want to do that is, one, it'll give you a more realistic application and look, and it'll look more natural and flattering as well, rather than going hammer into your blush product and then going like this in a circular motion or however you normally apply it, but you're only like sticking to that apple of the cheek. It almost looks too much, like it's very in your face kind of blush application, and it's not as natural looking. So just blend it back onto that cheekbone, because that's how we naturally flush, not just like a circle of pink or red. And yeah, there's no need to like go really crazy at the blush product as well. Just lightly tap like this. That's all you need. And the trick is with blush, don't go too low. When you apply too low, like here, it almost gives you this droopy, saggy effect on the cheeks. You want to lift everything. You want to fight gravity. So here is fine. And then you blend back. Same goes with your bronzers and contour products, guys. Don't go too low because you're dragging and pulling everything down. You want to lift. And again, I haven't gone too close to the nose area because that 2-finger rule, but like everyone's different. Sometimes depending on my mood, I might, whatever's left on my brush, I'll just kind of like lightly pat across my nose for that youthful like flush, kind of like I've just been kissed by the sun. I'm not exactly burnt yet on the face. It's cute. I'm pretty happy with that. That is the blush on. The last product to finish off this side of the face is of course highlighter and of course powder version. And the highlighter of choice today is going to be from the BECCA Cosmetics collection, and it is the Shimmering Skin Perfector in Champagne Pop. Alright, so I'm just going to use a small brush. I've forgotten to bring it over. Hold please. So I have an eyeshadow blending brush in front of me, and I always love, and I highly recommend it to everyone, to use an eyeshadow blending brush to apply your powder highlights, because it just really diffuses and blends the product beautifully. Some people like to use the fan brush. I'm not a huge fan because it's just not easy to work with. So going in with an eyeshadow blending brush, this one is from Surat Beauty. It's their artistic smoky eye brush grande. It's the bigger version of it. Look, that one's very expensive. You don't have to go with what I use. Definitely you can use any sort of eyeshadow blending brush, like one from Zoeva is another one that I sometimes use. Sorry, that's really dirty. I used that yesterday as eyeshadow. But yeah, you get the point. So dipping in. Now again, less is more. You don't want to add too much and then you regret it. High points of the cheekbone. And the reason why I'm showing you like half and half in terms of like powder on this side, cream liquid products on this side, is so you can sort of see the difference and how you can achieve it at home as well. In terms of, do I go for powder? Do I go for cream or liquid? It's completely up to you what you prefer. I love both. It really depends on my mood for the day. Sometimes I'm like, when I'm not at work, I always love using like cream and liquid products because it gives more of that natural skin finish. All right, maybe a little bit on the bridge of my nose. Now, you don't always have to apply highlighter in this part. For me, I get a little bit shiny there anyway, but I don't mind that extra glow. But for some people, they already produce a bit of oil flow in the T-zone, and you can definitely avoid that because you get that natural shine coming through later anyway. But just for the sake of the video, I'll show you down the bridge of the nose. But I don't normally highlight this part. And then the Cupid's bow for a subtle pout. Cute. And then just above the tail of the brow, connecting it down here. I mean, the Surat brushes are very expensive, a definite luxury item, but look, you get what you pay for. It is made in Japan, and most of us know that brushes made in Japan are the creme de la creme of brushes. They're like the OGs of brushes. All right, I'm pretty happy with that glow. See that glow? So that's pretty much it for the powder and cream and liquid products. To finish off the entire look, I'm going to apply a little bit of lip gloss. And this is from Marc Jacobs, the lip lacquers. And this shade is called Whip It. Oh, whip it good. That was pretty lame. All right, so it's just a really nice, bright fuchsia pinky purple. Really nice. I'm really into lip glosses these days. Ooh, look at that color payoff. I really do love the Marc Jacobs lip glosses or lip lacquers. They glide on so smooth. Not tacky or sticky at all. And the color payoff is really nice. Voila, this is the final look. I tried to blend it as much as possible so it looks similar on both sides, but I hope you enjoy this mini tutorial. If you would love to leave me a comment on what your best takeout from this video is, I'd love to know. Share some love, hit the like button and subscribe button for future content. For now, goodbye. Love you.